July 23rd, 2020 meeting of the zoning board of the village of Southampton is now open. I read the minutes, and anybody else did also. You can approve the minutes if you're satisfied with them.
I think those were approved at the work session.
That was the work session.
Yeah, those were approved at the work session.
These are the new ones.
The work session minutes?
It says June 25th.
Have we already approved those?
Yeah, those were approved.
Okay,
That was for the public hearing, yes.
Okay. On the pending decisions, Morse and Connors, 24 Osborne Avenue, we have a decision on that, or we already did that one?
Yes, we did that one already at the work session.
Next one is 3070, Southampton Village LLC, 50 County Road 39. I have a motion to approve those minutes as written.
I'll second approving the decision as written, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3071 BLC Hillside Investment LLC, 232 South Main Street. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to approve those, that decision as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3073 Chickamauga. Did that one. 500.
Well done, Kevin.
I think we have this one from Chick, right?
Yes, so we had not received any resubmission at the time of the work session. I understand that new plans were just submitted this afternoon. I did have some communication with the applicant, and the expected decision would be ready tonight. We won't do the planting until the fall, so they're fine with having this for a decision at the August meeting. So we'll be reviewing the plans, preparing that for the next meeting of the zoning.
You want us to close that one, right?
That's
The decision?
closed. There were no other outstanding issues.
Yeah, that was already closed.
Okay. So we're just we'll carry that over to August?
Carry it on the pending decisions.
Okay. Very good. All right. That brings us up to the pending cases. We have some new information on Stone, which came in today or yesterday. Jake, do you have any comments on the new information that we got?
I was able to read it quickly. It's rather lengthy. It is a situation where there seems to be a disagreement, and the board will have to determine how to interpret the revised information. The applicant hasn't really modified the project. They have clarified the items that we had looked for in the last review memo. And we are still looking for a reconstruction of that 130-foot section of wall in a manner to what previously existed before the wall collapsed. So there's really no change. The zoning board has been pretty clear on their position, which was written up into the memo. We do have a new submission that just came in today that we should probably take a little time to review.
I read through that, Chick. Basically what I got out of it, he was trying to say, well, we got a DEC permit, so the village should just make a coup of the project because they know everything.
That was about it.
It's very consistent with what they've said before. Basically the wall is collapsed. That creates an impact to wetlands and buffer. There is erosion from the property to the west that creates an impact, but it doesn't, really address the board's concern of essentially reestablishing a large wall that is an impediment, and it's not something that would be permitted, under current regulations.
Would we allow that wall to be built if it hadn't existed before?
No.
And I think you told any erosion that's happened has happened already. There's like, you don't see really any other future erosion happening. So putting the wall back up is not saving anybody anything. So I think that I'm still on board where they can build a wall in the upland, but not in the wetlands.
Gilbert Flanagan would like to be heard. Could I bring him up into as a panelist?
Yes, please.
Okay, you've been promoted to panelist. Go ahead, Gil.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I hear you.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I just wanted to be sure for the record that you do have all of the reports that we submitted previously. There was the report that First Coastal submitted on April 29th, dated April 29th. There was the Delandro and Andrews engineering report of May 1st. And also the DEP permit, which Chicks made reference to, and the responsive report that we submitted, I guess it was earlier today, that First Coastal prepared in response to Chick's memo. I think that we've really submitted virtually everything that we had intended to submit, and I won't repeat because of the lateness of the hour and other things. I won't repeat and recite what's in those reports. And by the way, the application itself is not and has not particularly requested permission to stabilize the wall that is currently standing. That's something that would have to be dealt with at a later date. But if Aaron Chachunian, who I believe is signed up, has anything to add, that would be fine. Otherwise, I think we would like to bring this matter to a close. As you know, it's been around for the better part of a year. So my recommendation or request would be that the matter be closed for decision.
Unfortunately, in regards to that request, we cannot close any of the meetings.
Yeah, I see that now.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, one thing I would request, if you can, and I understand why you can't do that for obvious reasons, but perhaps we could leave it that the matter be held open for written comments only.
I think we have the same issue of closing it at all when the public doesn't have a chance to weigh in tonight.
Yeah, I understand the extraordinary circumstances here, and I appreciate that. So I guess that's the way we'll have to leave it.
Rather keep it open for all purposes. Is that right, David?
Yes.
Okay, I understand the circumstances, but my comments should be noted in the record, and I'm sure they will be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where's Aaron? He wants to speak to me.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I'll rest on Mr. Flanagan's comments.
All right. Do we have anybody else who wants to talk to this application? No. So we're going to adjourn for all purposes. May I have a motion?
I move we adjourn for all purposes.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Community Baptist Church. We have didn't write a decision on that yet, but we were leaning toward a decision, were we not?
Yes, we were.
So do you want me to close the decision?
I don't think we can close it, but I can have a decision ready for the next meeting.
Is there anybody who wants to speak to this application?
John Bennett would like to be heard. So
On my screen, it's saying that
Somebody wants to speak to
Yes, Hereford is.
yeah, Jennifer Hereford. I believe that she's from the last
Yes.
application that you just adjourned.
the Stone property. Does she want to speak to it?
How would you like to proceed on that? Would you like me to bring her in? We've already adjourned that.
You know, we've heard her several times. She's got something new to add. We'd love to hear it.
Do you have to reopen? Would you like me to bring her up, or do you have to reopen the?
It's still open. It's adjourned till the hearing's
Okay.
not closed.
Okay, so let me go ahead and promote her to panelist. Okay, Jennifer, you're in.
Hi there. Hi, I'm here with my mother. We would just like to make the comment that normally you have neighbors disagreeing, but we want this wall as much as Mr. Stone wants this wall. This wall is not only to retain soil, this is critical to protecting our property. The wall has been there as long as the house has been there, and we are in a Southampton Village historic district. We want to preserve those houses. By not rebuilding the wall, the house is in danger. And Chick, you noted on page 4, bullet 4 of your report that you were unclear of the potential impacts that may be caused by complete removal of the wall. You're not clear of going back to natural without the wall, but I don't want to take the risk of that. Are you willing to take the liability of our house being swept into the sea by not having a wall? Our insurance company agreed to pay $300,000 for this wall that might not be built. So our rates will continue to rise for years to come because of it. We really believe that our property is in peril if you do not build the wall.
The wall in the uplands.
And the wall does not only need to be in the uplands, it needs to be all the way where it currently was. The water is rising, and there will be erosion there if you don't rebuild the wall in its where it completely is.
We've already had some erosion. We've already had the erosion.
There will continue to be erosion because the water is lapping at the full moon tides every day, every month.
Well, it's wetlands. If it's bound to be wet, it's wetlands.
It is
You have properties all up and down on that side of the Meadow Lane, and they don't have walls. And all of a sudden, we're supposed to have a wall for this one. The wall was there, and it got destroyed.
Yes, but it's been there, and it's been there for 100 years, sir, and it's been protecting our property for 100 years, sir. So we would like it to be replaced, so it continues to protect our property that you allowed us to raise. So we've been flooded many times from Sandy and beyond, and you allowed us to raise.
That's why you raised the house, to avoid that.
In the meantime, the property around the house has to be raised as well. That's what you allowed us to do. And we need to protect that property.
What does one thing have to do with the other? Actually raise the house to save it. And what does that have to do with the wall?
The wall, the wall is protecting the soil from continuing to erode into the sea.
The soil is 7 feet high. It's higher than it was 10 years ago. And these 7 feet, which you allowed us to put against the house, has to be stabilized in order for the house to make it another 30 years.
You're not clear, like Chick said, of what happens if you don't have the wall. Like, why are you willing to take the liability of us not having a wall?
We're losing the house, and on top of it, we're losing the house.
We're in the historic district. You want to preserve historic homes. If our house goes into the sea, you're not willing to take the liability on that. Let us rebuild. Let us have the wall, sir.
It's not your wall together, so you won't be rebuilding it. The Stones will have to rebuild it.
Yes, we are agreeing with the Stones that we would like a wall. You normally have neighbors fighting. We are coming here in support of their application, sir.
We got it. Anybody else wish to speak to the Stone application?
The ocean is rising. In 10 years, at least.
The ocean is on the other side of the street.
What?
The ocean is on the other side of the street.
What do you mean? The ocean water is coming through the inlet. We are at the same level. It's a bay. It's a bay and the ocean. They are connected, sir.
The bay.
What?
It's not the ocean. It's a bay.
Yes, the bay's water is rising as well.
That's what I said. The ocean and the bay is rising.
Can we hear other opinions? Julia, David, are there any other opinions on this?
No.
Well, as you know, we've been hearing this case now for 6 months. And
over a year.
Over a year.
Well, I've been hearing it for more than 6 months. And we've taken in all of the information.
Yes, but we're making a plea for our property too for this, and I feel like that's not being really acknowledged.
we understand just what you're saying. We understand your concerns. We have to weigh everything, which we will do. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to Stone? All right, so do we have to adjourn that, David?
Yeah, yes, please do.
I move that we re-adjourn this for all purposes. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're down to Community Baptist Church. John, did you want to say something on this? I see your name up there.
And you're muted in case you wanted to speak.
I just want to say I have nothing, we don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Good. Glad to hear that, John. All right, so we can't close it, but can we have a decision on this?
Yes, I'll have a decision.
Very good. South Lane Properties LLC, 72 Gin Lane. We can't close that either, but we can have a decision on that next time.
Yeah, I'm bringing in the council for that.
Fine.
Oh, you don't want me to?
No, fine. I said fine.
Oh, okay. I thought you said why. Pardon me. Okay. Thomas Gibbons, your microphone and your camera are off.
There he is.
My apologies. Nothing further to add. I understand that the application will be held open for all purposes. The board has everything. The only thing I will say in 30 seconds or less is I caution the board that if you deny this appeal, you'll be setting a very dangerous precedent that covenants can be ignored, and anybody can build on the dunes. And there's a planning board covenant. No one's denied that. It's in place. It prohibits construction. That's what occurred. It's a dangerous precedent that covenants can be ignored and that it's open season for building on the dunes if the board denies this appeal. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak to this application? So we'll do the same thing with this, David, that we did with the other ones, right?
Where's my hand? Oh.
Yes, it'll be left open.
Hello?
Yes, you're in. You can speak.
Oh, it's John Bennett for the property owner. Just very quickly, I wanted to highlight the fact that we did respond today by a letter dated July 23rd, which I guess is today, to a Mr. Gibbons letter. We added additional authority, and we also submitted the affidavit of Thomas Lawrence showing that as of the current date, there's over $3,347,000 has been expended in reliance on the permit. That's all I have to add. I'll stand on the written documents.
Very good.
And I would just like to add that it was discussed at the work session. I've reviewed everything except for Mr. Bennett's latest submission of today. And currently my opinion is that not being a party to this easement, or an intended beneficiary, that this property does not have standing. So I will look at Mr. Bennett's submissions, and sure if Mr. Gibbons has anything more to add as well, I'll review that.
Hey, the only thing I'd ask, if Mr. Bennett, if you can hear me, if I could have your submission, thank you.
We sent it to you. We responded to yours, which we only got today, and we immediately sent our response to you. I sent the email myself. Check your email, but if you don't have it, call me tomorrow. I'll get it right over to you.
I do not have it. I will call you tomorrow. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye.
Does the board have any comments on this application? So we're going to do the same thing with this one that we did with the others. We're going to adjourn it for all purposes. Is that correct, David?
Correct.
Okay. I have a motion to adjourn this for all purposes.
I move that we adjourn it for all purposes.
Have a second? Need a second here.
Oh, both Julia and Dan are muted.
Yeah.
I second it.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3066 Aiso Realty, 145 Cooper's Farm Road. This is where they want to add on to the house without enlarging the footprint. Is that correct?
The account, yeah, hold on one moment. Let me bring in Alex Kriegsman. You've been switched to a panelist.
There he is.
Good evening, members of the board. Alex Kriegsman, 279 Main Street, Sag Harbor, on behalf of the applicant.
Anything you have to say? Anything you want to hear?
I mean,
You're frozen.
at the last hearing,
You're freezing up. I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Green. That happens at the movies once in a while. We still have the picture, Alex. We don't have any voice.
I think if he might be able to hear us. Alex, we can see you, but you're frozen. Can't hear you.
Can you hear us?
Let me try taking him out and bringing him back in.
Okay.
Oh, now he's moving.
So he's trying to get a better signal.
Now you're back.
All right. That's better. We can see you now.
okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm not sure where I cut out, but I was just trying to summarize the same points that I made at the last hearing.
You cut out at hello.
Well, then I'll go again. So as we said at the last hearing, this is a modest renovation. She's not looking to change the existing footprint of the premises. It's something that would have been permitted when the house was purchased. I know there's a change in the code. I understand you're not looking to, do this for everybody, as was asked on the last call, but she couldn't afford this when she moved in the house. She's got a growing family, and there's not the slightest detriment this is going to have on the community or on the neighbors. It's been noticed. There's no one in opposition to it, and we would respectfully submit that it satisfies the criteria of the village code and state law for the granting of a variance.
Any comments from the board? No. Anybody else would like to speak to this application? Do the same thing again, David? Adjourn for all purposes?
Yes.
May I have a motion to adjourn for all purposes?
I move that we adjourn it for all purposes.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that takes care of the pending decisions and the pending case. Are actually coming along quite rapidly here. 3074, the new case is Anthony Paduano, 137 South Main Street.
Is Dan still here?
I was just about to ask that.
Dan?
Yeah, I think we've lost him.
Oh, we lost him. Dan, where are you? Come back, Dan.
Let me see if he came back on in the attendees here. Yes, he is. Let me bring him back up. And Gilbert Flanagan is here for the first application, Anthony Paduano. So I'm going to promote him.
Okay.
Dan, you're back. You're just on mute.
Okay,
Yep, and now you're.
am I good?
Mhm. Yes,
Am I good to go?
you are.
Good to go, Gil.
Okay, for the applicant Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street, Southampton. You should have in your files the affidavit of posting and the affidavit of mailing, which were submitted both electronically and also in person. Want to make sure that's in the file.
I do have those. Thank you, Gil.
Good. Just to make a couple of quick observations on this to try to be brief as I possibly can. What this application does not involve, which I think is important, and part of the design reflects that, it does not involve the need for a wetland special permit. The proposal, as you can see, if you look at the survey site plan of the property, prepared March 6, 2020, which you should have in the file, it's a rather large map. You can see the wetlands boundaries shown on that map, and the proposed construction is outside of the 150-foot wetland setback jurisdiction. We also submitted with the application a calculation of existing and proposed gross floor area, so we can show that we do not need any relief from those provisions of the code. The purpose of this application is to enlarge slightly the existing attached garage, which is a two-car garage. And as you can imagine, from the size of the house, a two-car garage is rather modest for this particular property. And with the increased number of people being in the house due to the current health situation, the feeling was that a space for an additional car or two and some storage would be reasonable and modest. Obviously, the reason for the location has to do with where the existing garage is constructed. Putting it anywhere else attached to the house would not be functionally a reasonable or practical thing. You'll note that one thing we didn't also ask for was relief to put this structure in a front yard because it's on waterfront property. I would also note that if this had been a detached garage, we would need actually more front yard relief than we are requesting. The question might be why we didn't do that. Again, I think one of the most telling points in this application is the location of the wetlands boundary. Another thing as a practical matter, as I'm sure you know, is that this is a flagpole lot. And so some of the concerns that are found with front yard variances, that is distance and view from the street, really don't apply here. In fact, as you know, when you look at the tables in the code, it talks about the distance from the street, even though this is a front yard as designated. I took a look and it's about 5 feet. The proposed construction is about 500 feet from South Main Street. I would believe that the only property is affected, possibly could be affected by this application, is the property immediately to the east, which I can tell you is owned by an entity which is controlled by the applicant. We also felt that locating the construction generally centrally in the property would get it as far away from the other neighbors as possible. Now, in general, I would say that in this case, in the case I have later, this fundamental focus of an area type variance is the balancing test. We hear about that all the time, but it's important to weigh the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the neighborhood or the community. And I would submit that by putting this structure where it is proposed now would actually meet the balancing test because it would get the construction further from any adjoining neighbor than if it were placed somewhere else. And it also would obviate the need for a wetland special permit, which might be able to be achieved if we were within the wetlands jurisdiction. So I think if you take that into account, I think that this application does have merit. It's somewhat unusual in that the applicant controls both of these properties, and we're trying to minimize the impact on the neighbors. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I believe John Rose, the architect, is also signed in, so if you have any technical questions of him, you could certainly feel free to ask him. Thank you.
There's no garage there now, Bill?
Yeah, there is a garage. In fact, what we're doing is we're expanding. I said there's an existing two-car attached garage. If you look at the floor plans, which were submitted, the date February 25th, 2020, plans prepared by John Rose, you'll see there's an existing two-bay garage and this would enable the possible piggyback storage of 2 additional cars.
The garage is attached, right?
Its garage is attached.
Yeah, we don't usually get applications for garages that are attached. I can see why.
Yeah, it's rather unusual. I can't remember the last time I had one of these. It's actually making the existing garage a little bit bigger.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I get you.
Let's say, if you look at the map, you see how we just avoid the 150-foot wetland setback, which is, we think, is a benefit of this application.
Any other board members have anything?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, it's a thoughtful expansion. It's an expansion of an existing 2-car garage, and with minimal impact on the neighbors, and I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You said that the architect would like to speak?
Well, he's here. He's on if you need to ask him any questions.
Do you have any questions?
Kevin, it's a very simple plan.
Yeah.
It's a very simple plan. I don't see any problem with this.
I don't either.
Yeah, we thought it made sense. It had the least impact on anybody. I think it's a good case of where the balancing test really comes to play, and it works.
Yes. Okay.
I think that John Rose would like to speak, so let me promote him to a panelist.
Okay.
Okay. You should be in. John, are you in?
Yeah, he's on mute.
John, mute.
Yeah. Could you unmute? John? Your camera and your unmute. Okay. Right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I just wanted to add that, as Gil pointed out, it's a pretty simple addition to the east of the existing garage in the most conforming location we could find. But nothing more to add than that.
Okay. Any other comments on this application?
If it's possible, I guess you can't close it, but I would hope you can be some action.
We can. For the time being, we'll just have to adjourn it like we're doing with all the others.
Right. No, I gather that. But it sounds as if you don't need anything further from us then.
I don't think so, no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we might have lost Kevin. I think we lost Kevin. Let me check. Hold on. Unless I might have put him to an attendee. If I did, I apologize. Let me look. Yep. I apologize, Kevin. You're back. Kevin, can you hear me? Kevin? Hold on 1 second. I'm having a problem with the participant. It's not allowing me at this point to promote, people from, the only thing I can think of to do now is, I can't take John Rose out, and I can't bring, Kevin back in. It's not allowing me to do that. What should I do,
So,
David?
have we lost Kevin for good?
No, he's in attendees. I just can't bring him up, and I can't take out John Rose either. It's not allowing me to do that. It's not allowing me to do anyone.
But Kevin is there as an attendee.
He's in as an attendee, but I can't promote him. I can't.
I don't know how the board feels. I'm comfortable. You know, these are all going to be left open. You'll be able to have comments at the next meeting. The board's comfortable. We can still proceed without Kevin.
I'm just trying to I can't get anyone to respond to, like, I can't pull anyone out or pull them back in right now.
Okay, that's a much bigger issue.
It's a much bigger issue.
Yeah. I mean, if we can't.
Yeah, just give me 1 second here.
Sure.
I'm finding everybody a little bit digital too.
Oh, maybe it's a storm.
This was my worst fear. Actually, it's coming to life, so.
You've been doing great, Jolie. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't. It's not allowing me to switch at all. It's not responding. It's also been very slow. Let me see if I can bring, John Bennett has his hand up. Let me see if I can bring him in. I don't know if I can. Let's see. I just tried to promote you, John, into panelist, and it's not working. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see if I can get Russell and promote him to host and see if that releases it. I'm trying to bring you in, John. It's just not working from my end. I apologize, guys. David, can I try to make you host and see if you can do it, and then you can maybe switch me back? Maybe it'll break whatever's going on.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, I made you host. Can you see if you go into participants and go down to panelists, if you can you take John Rose out? If you can, that means that it's broken, and you could try to switch me back to host.
Yeah, so let me remove him.
Okay, could you bring back in Kevin? And then we can try having you make me host again and see if that helped the situation. Yay, Kevin's back.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. Can you try to make me host, and we'll see if it broke it, and then we can.
I'm going to bring John Bennett up while he has his hand up, and then I'm going to try to get you back.
And John Rose is back. Okay.
Hello.
Now I should be back.
All right, I removed John Rose again.
Okay.
Okay, now how do I switch it back to you?
If you click on me, I think that you should have an option to say make host.
Okay.
Yes. All right, hopefully that worked. We'll find out after John is done. I apologize about the delay. Okay.
Just before we start, John, I'm assuming you had submitted affidavits. I did not get them from Diane, but
We hand delivered them today. Hold on a sec. Bailey? Yeah, we hand delivered the affidavits today, correct?
Correct.
Yes. We hand delivered the affidavits to the building department today.
okay.
I'll represent that as an officer of the court.
Thank you very much.
Just tell me if I should proceed or.
Yes, we're ready to proceed.
Okay. I have the next two matters. They're both wetlands applications. They're both on for the first time. So I'm going to try to be somewhat skeletal because usually I'll put the case in and then I just wait for Chick's comments and for the board's comments and for a report from Chick. Just stop me if I'm going too quickly, and certainly I'm here to answer any questions that the board has tonight. But having said that, I'm going to try to be brief. So this is a wetlands application. The property is located on the north side of Meadow Lane. It's east of Halsey Neck Lane. It's a house that you oftentimes drive by because it has a driveway well into the property to the north. It adjoins a property that was, I think it was the Lucian Ting, Bill Pelly, and then a Bachman property where there's a little pond, thus one of the wetland setbacks we're dealing with. So it's a property that you've driven by many times, but it's so stuck into foliage in the north, you don't concentrate on it. Typically, you'll see it across from the view to the north west as you're looking across and over Halsey Neck Pond. And that's where the existing house fronts on Halsey Neck Pond. There's actually a bulkhead there on Halsey Neck Pond. So you've got these systems of wetlands, which actually what we're trying to do is increase the setbacks and significantly increase the buffering. There's an arm of the property that goes off to the northeast, which essentially we're just going to bring that all back into buffer. It's all lawn now. So we need a wetlands permit. We're going to take out these properties, the existing house, leave some of the improvements, but the house and the septic system and the buffering is going to become like day and night, really trying to bring this thing closer into modern wetland setbacks. I'm trying to see, oh, wow, that's great. Thanks, Chick.
You're welcome. I thought that would help. It's editorial for the board.
I can be so bold. There's a one-page comparison of existing versus proposed conditions. And there's okay, well, let's talk about the chart now, since it's this screen sharing, as I'm just glad we're doing some of it, able to do some of it. So,
Excuse me.
As we always try to put together charts for these, and it's self-explanatory. The buildings are moving back from a 40-foot setback to 65-foot. The pool actually getting a little bit closer, but you'll see why, because we're trying to crunch everything in. The deck's going from 84 to 137. The sanitary system, very significant, 16 feet. It's really sitting right very close to the wetlands to 151 feet. So that's fantastic. But here's something really significant. The existing total buffer is about 16,000 square feet. We're going to get it close to 75,000 square feet because we're going to take over the large majority of the lawn, particularly in that arm to the north. There was a lot of struggle with the client, but I said you're going to go in here and you're going to have to give up something significant. And I hope you'll agree that we've done that. The house is being enlarged, but this always happens with the wetlands permits. The give is significant buffers, conformance with FEMA, new septic systems, tightening up where we can, and the take is the larger house because frankly, no one's going to do all this work without getting some additional living space. So we're here. The lot coverage is coming up a little bit, but again, you'll see that primarily that's to accommodate, strangely enough, the shrinking and starting to crunch down these parcels. The improvements. The DEC adjacent area coverage is going from 23,000 down to 19,000. So all of it, again, we have an extensive buffer. You should be able to see in the file, there's some Blaise-Marcoide elevations if you want to look at those. The idea, again, is to move this house as much as can be away from this Halsey Neck Pond. Not a heck of a lot of opportunity for it, but we've shrunk where we can. But again, of course, the huge give back is that massive buffer, a septic system that's going from 16 feet to about 150. Again, I mean, I don't want to be blasé or presumptuous about the extent of my presentation, but it has been my experience that on the wetlands applications, this is what we do. We present it to you on the first round, try to answer any preliminary questions that you have, and Chick's going to give a good look at this to see what his response is. I can answer questions. I can talk more if you want, but I think this is I'm trying to move it along and keep it within the framework of how we usually move these applications.
John, so I have some summarized notes. The larger house, we're going from what size to what size?
We're going from 4,200 square feet to 8,100 square feet.
And the lot coverage, I know it's there, but we're going from
the DEC adjacent area lot coverage is going from 23,000 to 222 to 19,446.
Wait, did I misunderstand? Are we reducing lot coverage? Oh, 15.
Yeah, we're reducing adjacent area lot coverage, which I think is probably
just explain the difference between the village lot coverage and the DEC lot coverage. I think that's what's a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want me to do that, Chick, or do you want to do it?
Well, just that, Mark, in the table here, the village lot coverage is going up a little less than 4,000 square feet. The DEC has jurisdiction within 300 feet, so pretty much this whole site. Actually, my apologies. This is freshwater.
Freshwater, 100 feet.
Yeah. Within 100 feet. And their lot coverage is going down. So it's basically the difference in the jurisdiction areas.
Yeah, but okay, so the village lot coverage is going from 40, from what to what?
15,000, oh, sorry.
35.
That's that number.
29.
That's right.
15, 633. Okay, so we're increasing the lot coverage.
That's the bigger house.
John, did anybody do a calculation of how much lot area you have that is conforming? In other words, what's your permissible building envelope? I know that's not a defined term, but I'm trying to figure out if you were to have to comply with all wetland setbacks, how much square footage are you working with?
We probably have close to a negative one, because you know what the killer is, that pond, which is a man-made pond. I've been there, I've walked it many times over the last 30 years, visiting that house under various ownership. It's a man-made pond on the Paley, with all apologies to Bruce Bachman, who maintained it beautifully for years, but that pond on what I call the Paley property is a man-made pond, but nevertheless is a regulated pond. I guess because it's not lined in the way that would take it out of jurisdiction. So
Mark, this illustration here may help. The blue area is the envelope to meet the required wetland setbacks.
Okay, well, yeah, and when I looked at this, I was wondering if, I think that's what that is. So how large is that area?
I don't know if they've computed that.
We can figure that out. We can give you that. But remember, you have to fit septic in there. You have to fit a new IA system. But we'll give you that information.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering just, and I know this is all preliminary, but it doesn't seem like much of the house is sited inside of the permissible building envelope, and I'm just wondering why not.
Well, there's big. To be honest with you, it's a give and take. It's to be direct with you. It's a horse trade, and we thought that giving back. What are we at? Almost. Hold on a second here. I want to give you the number because it's significant. We thought giving back, creating almost 2 acres.
No, I'm not saying that there aren't benefits, John. I'm just wondering what's detrimental or what's less.
Brant Reiner has his hand up. Should I bring him in for a comment?
Sure.
I apologize for interrupting you.
No, please do.
Okay, Brant, you should be in. Hopefully.
Oh, you see me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I'm Brant. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Brant Reiner from InterScience on behalf of the applicant. I'm here to just help John maybe explain some of the technical features associated with the map and the thought process behind the things that you're seeing on the map. If I could first start by explaining to the board that this property is encompassed by wetlands almost 360 degrees around it. So we're faced with difficulties that you don't see very often. Because of the wetland situation, it really crunches the building envelope to create any kind of conforming building on the site. But when you see the building envelope on the map, what's important to take into consideration is we're also needing to find a conforming location for the sanitary system. So when we worked with the design team on this project, we first had them look at what the sanitary system would need to be in order to accommodate a new house on this property. So if you look at the map, the panel on the right with all the proposed conditions, you'll see the pink feature that's shown in that triangular building envelope is the sanitary system. And that takes up a good amount of area. So speaking to board member Greenwald's point about the size of the building envelope, I believe that building envelope represents approximately like 10,000 square feet. The problem with it is it's a regular shape, and our ability to be able to, our ability to fit the sanitary system inside of it and then try to design the house around it. So a couple of things came into play here.
Can you just speak, or Dan, could you comment on what appears to be a really large sanitary system? Is that?
Yeah, I was just getting to that.
I mean, isn't that unusually large?
So the reason the system appears large is because it needs to be shallow due to high groundwater and low elevations. So if you look around the building envelope to the north of the sanitary system, you'll see a few thin lines that are very close together. That represents grading that we have to bring in to actually make that system work because the groundwater level is so high. So a couple of things came into consideration here. One is we didn't want to create a gigantic plinth of land to create or to make the land high enough to put deeper pools in. And two is we just didn't have the real estate to be able to do it in a conforming location. Putting retaining walls in actually would have created more of a difficulty. We worked with the engineering team to figure out what that meant. So we spent a lot of time getting this plan to what you see today. And unfortunately, because of the high groundwater and low elevations, we're stuck with taking up a lot of the property to put the leaching pools in. Because they're leaching galleys, they're shallow, and it requires them to be spread out rather than be deep. And this is to meet the health department requirements.
And also, if I may, one of the things that you're seeing, in addition to the actual galleys, it says LG, underneath them are, they say F, and that's future expansion, as Mr. Guzowitz can tell you and Mr. Voorhees can tell you, that the health department always requires space for future expansion. So really, as Brant says, it happens more and more. We have to, the first thing we have to design for these sites is the septic system.
So, Chick, if you could bring up the other analysis map that we have, the one that shows the overlay. I mean, perhaps it might give the board an understanding of what we were trying to do here, because you have site improvements that are currently spread out throughout the property. You know, this site's been developed for a fairly long time. But our idea was, because we're encompassed completely by wetlands, that we would create a condensing of the site improvements where you take everything you have right now, pool house, swimming pool, sheds, garages, and the house, and you try to pull them as tight as you can into a more conforming location.
That's it.
So that's it right there, Chick. So if you can zoom in.
Would you like to be on that? This one?
Yep, that's it right there. So what that shows you is the things in the blue, in the light blue, that represents the proposed improvements. And those things in the red are all of the existing improvements that are going to be removed as part of the project. So, and you'll see that some of those red features, like detached garages and sheds and other impervious areas, are coming out and they're actually being revegetated with native materials. We have a detailed landscaping plan to show that those areas are going to be revegetated. So you can see here that the blue represents everything that's being proposed. So if you can consider the fact that we're faced with the hardship of having wetlands all around us, we did the best we can, and the architectural team tried to keep all of the improvements as tight as they could and create a functional program that actually benefits the site.
I mean, we tried to scooch things in where we could. You see where the pool is migrating away from that pond, trying to keep it, it got closer in one area, but on the other area, it gets further away. It's sort of a delicate balance, but overall, you're ending up with a site that perhaps provides an awful lot more habitat. And let's face it, the house is going in an area that's already disturbed. We're trying to pull it back a little bit, but that area is disturbed. And I think it's fair to say, I'm trying to think about this, but it's probably the biggest revegetation plan I've seen. I think I might be wrong, but it's a lot. 74,000 square feet is almost 2 builders' acres.
Hey, John?
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions. One, I see a lot of the, for the water mitigation, for the tennis court, for the swimming pools, but for the rest of the site, the driveway, the house, since it's so shallow to groundwater, it doesn't seem like there's very many dry wells, a way to rain runoff, water runoff. I don't know if you've got to show me more on this plan or explain it more. So that's one question I have. The other is, if this goes forward, you're going to be tearing this whole building down and then constructing a new building, and you're surrounded by wetlands, and you have a narrow road that's coming in. I'd like to have a good building methodology, where the parking is going to be, the equipment's going to be, how you're going to protect that road from people trying to pull over and park in the wetlands, and
I told the team.
the sense of wetlands that sort of surround this whole building project.
I told the team that I was a little bit frustrated, to be honest with you, Dan. I told the team that the board's going to want a very extensive construction methodology here. And, that's one of the reasons why I had no delusions about this being closed this evening. We're going to have to get you that. We're going to have to get you, if the drainage isn't sufficient, we're going to have to augment it. But we're certainly going to have to show you a very serious and specific construction methodology, which is, we will submit that to you. We were on a phone call the other day with the team, and I said, folks, first thing we're going to get asked for is a construction methodology. Where is it? So, sorry.
So I
knew
can just
the question was coming. I didn't have the stuff to put in front of you. So, but we'll get it to you.
So if I can just speak quickly about the drainage. The site plan that you see in front of you is actually a colored rendering of the actual site engineering plan that was prepared by Squires and Holden, and they did provide drainage for all of the surfaces. You can see them on that map that Chick had up, and actually you can see them there. They're little boxes. They're scattered all throughout the site improvements. They can be difficult to see. There are some, like you see, some proposed dry wells that are tight to the house that Chick was just zooming in on. So there's a mix of dry wells where we can, because Phil was being brought in to bring steps up to the house. So we can have dry wells there. Other areas, it's all going to be chambers, the shallow chambers to capture all the runoff from all of the structures. So it is engineered to capture the stormwater.
But again, we're gonna have to get you a very tight and detailed construction methodology. I understand that.
Yep.
Can you speak a little bit to the property to the south? What is that you're passing over? It's not a building lot, I don't think.
No, the Nature Conservancy owns to the west, and the County of Suffolk owns to the south. It's shown on the Bobby Smith's, but you can see it. You can see it on the portion of the screen of the survey that Chick has up. It says now formerly County of Suffolk, and then the property off to the west is Nature Conservancy. It's a flag lot with a very wide flagpole. Looking for the dimension here. It's at the street corner. At the street, it's the width of the flagpole is. Gosh, I don't know why there's not a dimension there. Bailey, can you see? I don't think that. I'm surprised that Bob didn't put that there.
Mark, does this help answer your question? This property to the south?
Yeah, this, yes. That is. Yeah, just that became
99 foot. I'm sorry. 99 feet is the flag section. I'm sorry. I think that's very helpful to aerial, Chick. Thank you.
Welcome.
And you can see off to the Nature Conservancy property has all those work project administration mosquito trenches, which everyone thought in the 30s was going to limit the mosquitoes, but just made a better habitat for them. I think that's what happened. There's a culvert, that there's a little culvert there that at the where your are, it's Halsey Neck Land, a little culvert. They redid the bridge about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more.
So what flood zone are we in?
We're in 2 flood zones.
We're in AE 13 and AE 14. Is that right, Brent?
An AE 14 and an AE 13. The house is bifurcated. It's the line goes right through the house.
So we'll have to conform to the AE 14, because even if only a portion of the house is in one zone, we have to conform to the higher zone. We don't need any zoning relief here. Obviously, this is primarily the wetlands issue. But why don't we get, Mark, well, why don't we get for you a square footage calculation of that blue area that Chick was kind enough to point out when I was flubbing around about it. It was right there on the InterScience.
So Chick, if you zoom into the bottom of the map, I think the building envelope is noted on there in the table.
On the plan, Brent?
Yeah, down in the table. You're right there. Yep. In the table to the right there on the right side of your screen. That says.
Oh, there you go.
That says that may be both the accessory and the primary building envelopes together. That might not just be the primary building envelope.
Can we break that out? Can we break that out for everybody? That actually might, Brad, that actually might help our position there. Obviously, an accessory building envelope.
We'll do that for the next meeting.
Principle.
Hey, John?
Yes, sir.
I have another question. When I look on the survey, it shows a test hole and that you're 2.3 feet to the water. And then, but on the sanitary system, it shows to the bottom of the leaching galley, you're supposed to be 3 feet minimum from the groundwater. I don't know how, are you raising the grade where that leaching system is?
Yeah, I think Brad spoke to that before. I'll let you speak to it, Brad, but I think there's some contour lines shown to the north of the leaching galleys. Is that correct, Brad?
That is correct. The existing elevation. I want to say it's like around 6 or 7.
Did we lose him?
So the existing elevation is low. We're bringing in, I think, a few feet of fill. There's roughly 4 or 5.
It seems like more than a few feet. I mean, it seems like people got to be. Well, you don't give a measurement how thick the leaching galley is, and then fill over the top of that. Maybe you could give us a better.
It's 2 feet deep, and then the lid on top of it's usually a few inches. But the finished grade where the leaching galleys is being proposed is 9.57. So 9.5 feet, and the existing grade is around 5. So we need to bring in 4.5 feet just to make the sanitary system work, and that's with the shallow.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
that's with the shallow pools.
How many cubic yards is that?
Let's get a fill calculation. Do we have that? Brad?
I'm certain we have it on the map somewhere.
You have to
do that on the map somewhere. I just can't put my
leaching pools for the
I found it. Fill calculations right here. It's 3,430
cubic yards.
So the fill is going to be for the sanitary system, and then for the front of the house, or I should say the front entry of the house, where they are needing to bring fill in to get steps up to the first floor elevation. Because of the flood zone and the low elevation of the property, the house is going to be elevated. So they need to get some fill in there to make a nice entry from the driveway to the front door. So those fill calculations are for those 2 areas. The rest of the areas we try to not have to bring in fill. We advised that the design team try to minimize fill wherever we could, because we know that that's a concern of the boards. And I think we did a good job by Bob Smith from Squires actually being able to put drainage into the property with that high groundwater and these shallow chamber systems to capture all of the runoff from the property and get it into the ground without needing to bring in excessive fill.
Hey. Are you going to have to trench in new electric or gas lines from the street or anything?
I can't speak to that. I'll get that answer for your next meeting now.
Is there gas down? Is there gas in the street down there? I guess.
I think there is, but I don't know. They might be going from 200 to 400 amp service, so they might have to bring in new primaries or secondaries down that whole. I would like to know how they're going to do that, getting through the wetlands. Right now, it looks like the water line goes through the wetlands. Are you using that existing water line, or are you going to upgrade the water line coming in?
My advisement to the design team, and I think you'll see on the map that we need to have updated. There's a issue with the driveway going into the wetland areas, but my advisement to the design team was that all of the proposed improvements need to stay out of the wetlands. So I think as part of the construction methodology, we can address your question about the trenching and how the lines will get from the road to the house.
Yeah, if you could show us that would be helpful.
John, can we drive back there? Are they there, or is there some time? I mean, there's only so much we can see from a map, but maybe a visit would help.
Yeah, no. Let me set that up. I know you can't go there with more than two of you, I guess, but
yeah.
Why don't we contact the building department tomorrow? Is there a gate there? Interesting.
Yes.
When I posted the property the other day, and then I went back to look at it. I guess the gate was open. That's what it was, but it may be closed sometime. Well, yeah, of course. It's a good idea. I think it's a great idea, actually. I think you'll see what we're dealing with and what we're willing to or want to revegetate. So if it's okay, what I'll do is Billy, can we call the building department tomorrow and just see? I guess we'll give some times or some multiple times like that.
Yeah.
And Chick, you probably have you been able to get down there, Chick? Or
I've been on the property. I did confirm the wetlands and walked the entire property.
Okay. I think there are people. I did see some people in residence. I don't know if they're the owners or the tenants, but we'll make sure it happens the right way. I mean, it's interesting what's happened for years. I would never get a call complaining about surveyors. Surveys would just show up, and now I'm getting these irate calls from surveys from sellers. I was like, well, trying to close the deal, so that has to be surveyed. But anyway, we'll make sure that happens.
May I ask that one of those times be either before 9 or after 4:30?
Before 9 or after 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course.
Do you have anything else?
Not now. I think we have some homework to do. We might as well go to the next one if it's okay with you, unless you have any other questions.
Evan, I'll make a few remarks when you're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chick.
Go ahead.
You want to adjourn the Eleanor Cohen?
Speak, I think. Do you want to speak, sir?
Didn't you want to speak, Chick?
Yes, yeah, I just had a couple of things, a little bit of background. We had an application on this property last year, 2019. Mm-hmm. And we had it to a hearing. It was basically to replace this bulkhead. And they wanted to replace it across the entire property. We had made some comments at one of the hearings that replacing it in this northern area really didn't make sense. That we were looking for some type of an open space natural continuum to join Halsey Neck Pond with this offsite pond, and basically looked for restoration of this area. They ultimately withdrew that application, and now we have a new application before us that does exactly what was suggested originally. They're not proposing to build the bulkhead, although I could see that application coming at some point in the future for shoreline protection. But what we do have is all of this is being restored, and there is a very aggressive landscape restoration plan that's been proposed. And when you compare the prior conditions to the proposed conditions, and you saw briefly in the aerial before, all of this is lawn. All of these areas are very green, they're fertilized, there's goose dropping throughout the area. And with the restoration plan, all of this is being restored, all this brighter green, including these areas to the west, this area west of the tennis court. So I did see that as very beneficial, as being consistent with what was recommended on prior application, and ultimately a very substantial environmental benefit to reduce the fertilization on those lawn areas that would go directly into Halsey Neck Pond, to make it unfavorable for goose population, but obviously generate nutrients to the pond. This buffer restoration will help prevent that goose problem. And to Mark's comment in the beginning about the sanitary system, this plan does not show the sanitary setbacks, but the sanitary setback would be a little postage stamp in the middle of this blue area, because that's a 200-foot setback. So when Grant described the design process, placing the sanitary system here is the only location that comes close to meeting the benefits. I believe on the other plan, the existing sanitary system is over in this area, much closer to Halsey Neck Pond. So using that as the driver, I can understand the design. And then I thought the comparative analysis was very helpful to show improvements in setbacks. So it seemed to me to be a well thought out application. I think that the questions from the board tonight were excellent, and I made notes on them, and we should track them for the next meeting. But I wanted to give you that background perspective on the application from last year and how this does address much of that and how I do see a net environmental benefit. Those are all the comments I have, Kevin.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody else would like to speak? Anybody from the public would like to speak? I guess we're going to do the same thing with this that we're doing with all the others, right? Just to adjourn it for all purposes. I move we adjourn it for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. 3076 M4 950 LLC 950 Meadow Lane.
John, if you could just confirm again that you guys submitted the affidavits of posting and notice.
Yeah, thank you, David. We hand deliver them, Bailey? We hand deliver them today.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for starting out with that. So, it's John Bennett for the applicant. This is 950 Meadow Lane. And it's a redevelopment of a property that has an existing house on it. And one of the things we hope you're going to be able to concentrate on with us, hopefully, is the fact that the current house, we'll get into this in detail, the current house on the property, although this is a wetlands application, I think you want to look at all this stuff. The current house is, bulk of it is seaward of the coastal erosion hazard area. And we're pulling all that back. So there's about somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 square feet of coverage in the coastal erosion hazard area. That's all going to disappear, and we're going to revegetate and rebuild and do dune nourishment in that area. So that's a good thing. And then the proposed house will conform with the wetland setback. There's a bit of a wetlands pocket, the bigger of the two, on the northwest side of the tennis court, and then there's a very small but nevertheless regulated wetlands pocket in the further to the east. We filed several exhibits, and hard copies were filed with Village village building department. Oh, by the way, I should let you know that with me here this evening is John Burson from Sawyer Burson. Hopefully everybody knows, and I'm just going to say this because it's always been a great pleasure. John's team designed probably what a lot of people claim is one of the most significant and pleasing contemporary homes, the Sugarman home, which you'll see just before, if you're heading west on Meadow Lane. It's that rather long house, just a couple lots before Cooper's. John's here with us, and Karen Palilla from his office, Emily Rabb from InterScience, and Steve Naroda. I'm going to introduce the project, talk about some of the highlights of it, then we'll ask John to talk about the site plan elements, and then we'll ask Steve from Aries Design to talk about the revegetation plan. So thanks for bringing up the survey, Chick.
Sure.
Really what we need some help on here is some retaining walls and a parking area. Everything else complies with the wetland setback. So that's significant. I did, when we first, and hopefully you got this message, and hopefully, Chick, you were able to see some revised plans. When I first saw these plans, I got a little concerned because it appeared on Barilski's site plan that there was going to be some grading in the wetlands buffer area, but I called up, and it turned out that was a miscommunication between the design team and the surveyor. There will be no grading in the wetlands buffer area. I said we're not going to ask for a little help by putting some structures in the 125, but then start grading in the wetlands area. So that's not gonna happen. So again, we're on the south side of Meadow Lane, and we have there's an existing house there, which is not shown on the site plan here, but that the majority of the existing residence, as I stated, is located south of the coastal erosion hazard area. And I think there's on one of the InterScience plans. Oh, here's the number right here. It's 4,092 square feet of coverage from the coastal erosion hazard line area. So that's a good thing, getting all that out of there, that coverage. You'll remember that the coastal erosion hazard regulations that focus on coverage. So we're getting that out of there. There is again, there are these two wetlands pockets which we're working with. Getting stuff out of the coastal erosion hazard area, of course, an IA system located in excess of 200 feet from the wetlands. The current system is really, we were able to dig up recently, Norsec sometimes will go out there, and they'll, if we don't have that file, we'll file it for you. Norsec sometimes goes and does a diagnostic of the sanitary system. We're not picking up that much of a difference. It's hard to, I don't have any that much of a change on the location of the sanitary system. Maybe 10 feet or so. So I'm not going to tout that as much as I'm going to talk to you about the fact that system will be IA system. The current system, and we'll get that. If we don't have it, we'll get you that Norsec plan. That current system is, there's not even a septic holding tank. It appears to be 2 leaching pools. So we'll get that for you. At present, there's about an acre, 43,938. I guess what's an acre? 43,560. So yeah, there's about an acre of existing native vegetation. We're proposing an additional wetlands buffer of 44,483. So that's a good thing. And then, as I said, after the existing structures are removed, we have a dune restoration plan that will include revegetation of 36,791 square feet of area that is currently that's all south of the coastal erosion hazard line. So that's all good. Everything conforms with zoning setbacks and the proposed additions. So, and there's also an aerial that show you some of the existing conditions on the adjacent lots. The adjacent lot to the east is pretty much all turf. That's not what's going to happen on this lot. We're going to bring it all back into natural conditions as much as we can. So I just want to ask John Burson to describe the development of the site plan and the architectural program, or any questions that you have briefly. And Steve Naroda is going to tell us about the proposed wetlands buffer, which we're obviously, I think it's a great planting plan, but we're obviously willing to augment it in any way. John? Burson?
Yes, he's been promoted. He might be on mute.
There we go. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. If I could ask you to pull up the 950 Meadow Lane, I think it says Zoom hearing presentation. Yeah, file 2020.07.23, not, yeah, the one at the top.
Taking a minute to load up.
Okay.
Thanks, Chick.
Thank you.
Who's working the controls? Chick, are you doing it?
Yeah, I have been.
That's pretty impressive.
Okay.
There we go.
That submission, John.
Okay, if you could go, let's see, to the next. There we go. Okay. Just in brief, I'm John Burson from the firm Sawyer Burson. I want to thank the board for their time this evening. I'll try to keep my portion brief. We appreciate as well your consideration of our application. We're aware that this is the first time you're seeing it, so my remarks are just introductory, and we're always available for any questions or comments. Just briefly, our firm, Sawyer Burson, is based in New York City. We're architects and landscape architects. We've been working on projects in the village since 2002. We've done modern projects such as the Sugarman home at 170 Meadow Lane and the Milani home at 784 Meadow Lane, as well as the white clapboard colonial home at 11 Christopher Street. This project, 950 Meadow Lane, is a new beach home for a young couple and their two children. One child's a toddler, the other a newborn. They wanted a modern beach home where they could spend time with friends and family. Some of the drivers were they didn't want an overwhelming house. They wanted plenty of open space around the house. Just briefly, this is where the existing house is. So to kind of augment John Bennett's remarks previously, you'll see the existing house straddling that magenta line. That dashed magenta line is the coastal erosion hazard line. So the pool and the southern half of that house that constitute the roughly, I think it was 4,000 and change square feet that is not conforming. If we, there's an existing tennis court, an existing driveway, and then the existing sanitary system I can kind of point to. I don't know if I have cursor control, but it's kind of, okay, it's kind of right. Oh, I'm sorry. The magenta line is the sanitary setback. The cyan line is the coastal erosion hazard line. Apologies. But the existing sanitary system straddles that magenta sanitary setback. And also it's a cesspool. It's not even a standard septic system and leaching, dry wells, leaching pools, etc. If we can go to the next plan.
Just taking a minute.
No problem.
Thanks, Chick. Thank you.
Okay.
Is this the one you wanted, John?
Yep. Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. So, So, our clients and our firm wanted to respect the wetlands and respect the coastal erosion hazard line, and worked within those constraints with a few exceptions. One thing that we're doing, if we can scroll the drawing down a little bit so we see Meadow Lane, is the client was very interested as one of the site gestures in having basically a large vegetated green area in front of the house. So what we've done is proposed moving the existing driveway, which was sort of bisecting the property, over to the eastern edge. This puts it much further away from that large wetlands pocket that you see in the dashed blue line to the left, and sort of the same distance, but to the east instead of the west of that smaller wetlands pocket, that smaller area bounded by the blue line. There's no grading happening in the area up to the green dashed line, which is the 125-foot wetland setback. And there's a substantial revegetation plan and planting plan that has been developed by Aries that Steve Naroda will be talking about. What we are asking for is at the landscape setback, this green line, that we have, we're proposing a 4-foot high retaining wall. The purpose of this retaining wall is to act as call it the structural toe of the filling that we need to do to get up to the elevation of the house. We are in the FEMA VE17 zone, so allowing for the 2 feet of freeboard puts us up at elevation 19, plus about 2 feet to get you to the first floor, to allow for about 24 inches of structure, gets us to about elevation 21 feet for a first floor. The elevation of the site north of this green line is at about varies from elevation 6 to 9. So we are going up 15 feet, 13 to 15 feet to get up to the house. So we're trying to do it in a manner that is sensitive to the neighbors, sensitive to the village. We know that provision should be made for elevated houses, so you don't see 10 feet of exposed piles holding a house up in the air. So this first, this 4-foot retaining wall gets us to an elevation of about 14, where we're proposing a parking area. We don't have parking north of the landscape setback. We are asking that it be considered, at least the portion of it, north of the black line, which is the structural setback. We then have a system of a courtyard and steps that take us the rest of the way up to the main house. You'll see between the parking area and the house where we've gone from some regrading to get us up to elevation 15. And then we walk the rest of the way up to the main house, where the finished floor elevation right now is at 22.5, which allowed us to run utilities above the freeboard line, but underneath the floor structure. If we could now slide the plan up the screen a little bit. The entire house, of course, is conforming, is seaward of the black structural setback, and is completely landward of the cyan coastal erosion hazard line. The septic system is here on the right. You'll see that it is conforming to the magenta 200-foot sanitary setback. The house itself is approximately 15,000 square feet. It's a 2-story structure with a ground level garage. It's kind of an H-shaped plan. The owners did not want to create what would a kind of a bar-shaped scheme that would have been a wall between the bay and the ocean. They wanted views through. So hence, for example, this area to the east where there's a pool, there's a little spa. We've got a little storage area off to the left, but this whole area is for outdoor recreation. There's a little bit of fill proposed seaward, again, to kind of fill in what would be a large swale, also kind of contributing to an elevated appearance of the house. Again, Aries has worked very carefully on a dune restoration and planting plan. We are just, I want to just add at 15,000 square feet, we're within the 18,000 square foot maximum gross floor area. And the coverage that I've just discussed is at 22,724 square feet. So we're within the 25,200 square foot maximum lot coverage. It's a 3.886 acre site in the R80 zone. We are adding about 6,500 cubic yards of fill around the house to allow a transition up to this elevation. There will be a certain amount of fill under the house that's in the process of being developed in consultation with the structural engineer, but the house will be on driven piles. The owners wanted a modern style house, with plenty of lots of windows, but they also wanted the architecture to be have a little bit more character of a beachfront home. They liked what we did for the Milwanis, where we had vertical mahogany siding. And so if you can scroll to the next sheet, let's see.
Give it a couple more seconds.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of things open on my poor laptop.
Okay. Oh, this is actually a very helpful aerial showing I think the lawn to the east that John Bennett was alluding to, as well as the lawn area to the west. The wetlands pocket is right here. Here's the existing driveway showing where we're our proposed relocation. The existing tennis court is here. I think front yard tennis courts are fairly common on the south side of Meadow Lane. You can see the footprint of the existing house in white underneath the footprint outlined in black of the proposed house. And you can see as well a parking area to the east that we have proposed north of the wetlands buffer. And then that parking area up elevated about 4 feet with the retaining walls. If we can go to the next image, let's see.
Again, it'll take a couple of seconds.
No problem. Okay, this is just a larger, if you can actually, let's see. I thought this might show the existing sanitary system, but I don't think it does. Yeah, this is just our site plan. So we can go to the next images. I can close with those. They just give you an idea of what the project looks like. It's still in design, but as I mentioned, expanses of glass, but we're looking at vertical, either mahogany or perhaps Alaskan yellow cedar siding, overhanging, flat overhanging roofs. We've got, we're investigating the massing, with the two wings and the center pavilion. You'll see this view is from the parking area at around elevation 14. We're vegetating around it. Every area that can be revegetated throughout this project is being approached accordingly. There are some balconies as well. I think the next shot shows the ocean side.
Sorry. Should I say something about that? Steve, speak. Maybe, John, if it's okay, I just.
Yep. And so just a quick shot of the ocean side. And I think we can, I'll close my remarks with this image.
Steve, do you think, just very quickly, because I'm trying to have my eye on my watch, can you just give us a quick view of the revegetation plan, unless you for now you want, oh, there we go, great, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
I think that Steve Naroda has his hand up to come in. Would you like him to be invited in at this point?
Steve Samaris is on.
Yes, would you like him to be brought in? Okay.
Yes, oh, me? You're asking me? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, he's been promoted to panelist. You're on mute, Steve.
Good evening, members of the board. This is Steve Naroda with Aris Design, 38 Newton Street in Southampton. I'll try to be brief, but just to reiterate what John Burson and John Bennett have mentioned, one of the great advantages of this proposed development is the shifting of that driveway to the east, which allows us to hug around. There's a very big stand of Hudson tomatosa, which is beach heather. Let's just work around that and expand this buffer to the west. We've visited the property, surveyed, identified, and evaluated all the vegetation on site. We're going to remove non-native vegetation within the buffer and replace with native vegetation and augment what's there, which is primarily the beech heather, pine, and eastern red cedar. We have a nice stand of pine just to the east of the tennis court that we would underplant with Carex pennsylvanica. And where we're moving the driveway, where it's bifurcating the site now and shifting it east, we'll, when we excavate for the new driveway, we'll utilize that soil that's excavated and replace where that existing driveway is now. And so the soils will stay on site, try to limit the disturbance as much as possible. And the idea is just really augment this with the native plant material that's appropriate for this setting.
Yeah, so I think, again, this is the first time you're seeing it. We're anxious to see if the board or Chick has any comments, and we expect.
I have a question, just one on that. It's an existing tennis court that we really haven't talked about. Is there any existing drainage for that tennis court? Where's the runoff from that tennis court going? Maybe they could show us that, what they're going to do.
Yeah, we'll find that out, and if it needs to be, needs to be augmented. That's a good point. Steve, John, can you weigh in on that? I don't know that we just, for now, we're just going to leave the tennis court the way it is. But if one of the conditions was to find out some way to better drain it, that's all for the better. We have no problem with that.
Yeah, we'd be happy to investigate that. It may require, say, crowning the court so we can achieve positive drainage, and then, finding areas for dry wells.
Yeah, it just seems that that one corner of that tennis court area is very close to the wetlands, so
Yeah. Yes,
it would be good to know that it's not just all draining it right into the wetlands.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been there for a long time. It might have created some of the wetlands.
Probably.
John, can you speak a little bit to the elevation? Just go back. You might have gone over it, but just, how does the elevation match the required FEMA requirements?
John Person or John Bennett?
Whoever.
Oh.
Any
Okay.
John.
Yeah.
Any John.
Any John.
Yeah. Yeah. The house is in a VE17 zone. The property itself, you can see it straddles multiple zones, but the house is in the VE17 zone. The balance of the sites in the AE, I think it was 9. So that puts us with 2 feet of freeboard to an elevation of plus 19 for the underside of the lowest structural member. That would then entail about 2 feet or so for structure to put you up at a finished floor of plus 21. We're up a little bit higher than that, 18 inches, just to give us some plenum space to work with underneath the house. That's above that freeboard. And you can see that, we have areas around the residence at plus 22.5. Then the grading is down to around 22 around the house. And then I think at the east end, we're back down to around 21. But then working down to the north, you'll see you can just see from the landings, we're going from 21.5. I'm sorry, that we have this sort of court here at 21.5 that we're then heading downstairs to 18, then to 14, and then to 11.5. I'm sorry, at this parking area, and then we have a retaining wall around this area to elevate it slightly to retain the fill.
Could you, just go back for 1 second?
Sure.
Why would the house be any higher than required?
Well, we
it's legal though.
It's not the whole house. Remember, I should point out that the maximum roof elevation is set at elevation plus 47, irrespective of where the first floor is or second floor. And we have adhered to that maximum roof elevation. We're just raising the first floor within that allowable envelope.
No, you alluded to a reason for some people don't want to elevate it anymore, but you alluded to a reason why you would want to.
Mechanical I guess, right?
You get a better view of the ocean. You get also a cavity that you can work with underneath, in that plenum below the floor that allows for duct work and utilities.
What elevation is 2225, but that's, typically, so you're at elevation, if I may, you're at elevation 17, plus 2 of freeboard, that takes you to 19. And then you have a floor package, which Dan, you'll know that floor packages are usually a couple of feet. I think the design that Sawyer Burson has is to add another 1.5 feet or so to that 18 inches you said, to be able to have a cavity for utilities and some mechanicals, because otherwise it's taking up space in the house. And the mechanicals all have to be above the base flood elevation as well. So we're just utilizing that, but still keeping under the maximum height though. We can't, it's not gonna gain us anything in terms of the maximum height. So again, when some people say,
The minimum height you said was 47 measured from where?
Yeah,
elevation plus 2.
Yeah, it's the base flood elevation plus the 2 feet of freeboard. So that's at 19, and then they allow you an additional 28 feet.
For a
So it's
contemporary house,
yeah.
28 feet. For a traditional house, 35 feet.
Right, and you measure that from the FEMA?
That from base flood plain elevation plus 2. That's the I'm just going to call them, and everyone will recognize, that's the post 40 Meadow Lane amendments. Everyone remembers that, right?
Okay.
So remember, there was that's the way the village always measured it anyway, through practice. That's the way John Foster and his predecessors always measured it anyway. They took it from the base floodplain elevation as opposed to grade, and that methodology was approved in the court action, and then the village trustees codified it. But at the same time, they imposed some sky plane limitations too. So yeah, we're right where we're below the maximum height allowed for a flat roof, or for lack of better description, contemporary home.
Hey,
It looks like there are two members of the public, Mr. Victor Pruzanowski and a Ms. Jill Brofman, who would like to speak. Should I bring them in as panelists?
yeah, sure.
I just asked that they give their addresses.
Yeah, we'll ask them that when they here.
Okay. I believe that Mr. Pruzanowski.
This is not. We're still on Meadow Lane.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm here for Hampton Road. I must have hit something by mistake.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. 1 second. What about Ms. Brofman? You are on mute and your camera is off. Are you wanting to speak on this application? Ms. Brofman? You have to unmute yourself. Okay, they're not responding, so.
All right, is there anybody else? No? Anything else from the board?
Kevin, I had a couple of remarks whenever you'd like.
Sure, Chick, go ahead.
Just that, I wanted to kind of frame the consideration as I see it. This is the 125-foot setback. And what they've done is basically keep all of the fill and most of the structures out of that area. One of the big factors here are the retaining walls that are proposed to clean out this parking area and make this grade change to the south of the tennis court. And that's really what I see as their ask, what relief they're looking for. It's primarily a retaining wall, which is considered a structure within the 150-foot setback. The mitigation for that is moving this driveway over this side and improving the buffer revegetation. So to me, that's the trade-off. Everything else, as I see it, has been designed to be consistent with Chapter 116. So I just kind of wanted to put it in those terms so you understood the relative trade-offs and the mitigation for it. I like the idea that Dan brought up of looking at the tennis court for drainage control. And, you know, you will have to weigh that consideration that I just framed out.
Yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell, Chick. That's the give and the ask, yeah. And we'll try to augment it with some improved drainage for the tennis court if we can. Construction. We have a construction methodology. I think we've submitted one. Aries usually does. So, any comments on any of that stuff? But obviously, any comments you have to that?
Have to look at it.
Steve, you have a construction methodology, right, Steve?
Yes. Yeah. Chick, you just have to scroll up a little bit.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Construction phasing and methodology notes. That's helpful.
We'll try to get something like that for you on the previous application.
Good.
And we will, excuse me. I don't have anything else at this point.
Board have anything else? David, do you have anything? Where'd David go?
I'm here. I don't have anything.
Okay. So we'll do the same thing with this that we're doing all the others. We'll just adjourn it for all purposes. I move we adjourn it for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bring this up to 3077 John and Cheryl Ward, 1421 Meadow Lane. Lisa Zaloga, I believe, is the spokesperson.
Yes, and she's joining now. You're on mute and your camera is off, Lisa, but you're in.
I'm in.
You're in.
Hi. I was wondering if I can share my screen. Will I be able to do that?
Okay, your screen?
Yes.
With whom?
I wasn't able to see Chick's screen when he was sharing it, so can I share my screen?
I believe
you can.
I don't think we can. I believe you can.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, it seems to be working.
So you can see my screen now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a project that you guys have seen before. This we came before you in 2009. The property is on the corner of Meadow Lane and Road D. In 2009, the plan on my screen that's on the left-hand side is what was approved in 2009. And the plan that is on the right-hand side is what we are asking for currently. So they're very similar. In 2009, we came before you. We were asking for a front yard setback for that proposed 1.5-story addition that was 68 feet off of Meadow Lane. We also had the proposed kind of wraparound porch. And we were raising the house up from elevation 8 to elevation 15 and putting in the new conforming septic system for a 5-bedroom house. So that proposed 1.5-story addition housed 2 bedrooms in it. So we were adding and making it a 5-bedroom house. So what was actually done, the house was raised and put on pilings. And the septic system was put in with the raised yard there in the front, but they didn't do the addition. And at the time, there was not a pyramid law, dedicated to Meadow Lane. So that front yard addition for that 1.5-story thing, I got the 68-foot setback in 2009. However, you guys now currently have a pyramid law that, comes and is set back actually, let me see if I show you this. Your pyramid lawn now starts 40 feet off of the street and is at a 33-degree angle. So that 1.5-story addition that I was proposing and got approval for in 2009 that did not need pyramid law relief now, in fact, needs pyramid law relief for that triangular portion of the gable. So that setback relief of 68 feet is the same as it was in 2009. However, it requires that pyramid law relief. The other difference, so that's that proposed L-shaped portion that's coming forward towards Meadow Lane. There was also in 2009 a proposed porch. We are not looking to do that now, but we are looking to add and make that house and come a little closer to Meadow Lane there. We're also looking to square off the east side of the house towards Road D. So my numbers, my setback numbers, where I wasn't needing as much relief from Road D, in order to square off the house, I'm now looking for 44.9 feet off of Road D. The wetlands also, in the last 11 years, have kind of come forward along Road D. So you can see that they now wrap to actually closer to Meadow Lane than the house. I need setback relief from those wetlands that run right along Road D there. The wetlands line on the north side, on the bay side, have straightened out a little bit, haven't really changed all that much. You can see it was originally 38.5 feet from the deck to the edge of the wetlands. Now it's 37 feet. So they've gotten a little bit closer to the house, but not significant. So in that regard, that of course changes my upland numbers. So my upland area has decreased slightly. It's gone from 21,408 square feet to 20,981 square feet. So it's decreased slightly. However, because I've lessened the amount of coverage, because originally we had this kind of wraparound porch, and I've actually shrunk the width of the addition that we were doing on Meadow Lane side. My lot coverage numbers, as well as my gross floor area numbers, have actually decreased from what I was originally requesting and got in 2009. So just for your information, in 2009, I was granted GFA of 3,211 square feet, and that was a 14.9% GFA. And now I'm asking for 3,134.4 square feet, which is also still 14.9% GFA as compared to upland because of the difference in the upland size. The lot coverage numbers have also shrunk. I originally was granted 3,174 square feet, which was 14.8, and I'm now asking for 2,988 square feet, which is 14.2%. So those numbers have decreased. The Meadow Lane setback remains the same. The actual setback from Road D, which I was not actually asking for back in 2009, it goes no closer to Road D than the existing house. It's just the squaring off of the house gives me a setback of 44.9 to the property line and 35 feet to the closest point of that little leg of wetlands that runs along the side of Road D. The other thing that I am hoping to do is by squaring off the house, I am again in need of pyramid law relief. The current house, which is this dotted line right here, that's where the current house ends. And there's a little baby dormer here. What I'm hoping to do by squaring off that that part of the house there is extend that bedroom and create another reverse gable that would face Meadow Lane. So you can see that with the new pyramid law, that the 40, you come 40 feet off of Road D, and then you have the 33-degree angle. All of this, which a significant portion of it is existing. This is all an existing, other than a little bit of infill here, but that dormer is there, that roof line behind there, that's all existing. So it's really primarily this little 5-foot section here that would be becoming more non-conforming to the pyramid law from Road D. The other things that I am requesting is I'm looking to get, now that the house is up in the air, up at elevation 15, they're looking for a stair coming down from that wooden deck down to grade. And so we're hoping to put that off on this side here, and it has a 23-foot setback from the neighbor's wetlands here. And we were also looking to have a little second floor, just viewing deck, if you will, off of the master bedroom. And that's over existing wood deck. And then there are some gas LPT tanks here on the Road D side, as well as a shower. Those are going to be removed. They are hooking up to natural gas. So that's kind of the project, if you will. And just for reference as to the neighbor, really the only neighbor to the west, they recently just built this house here, which is a new 2-story house. And so in comparison, you can see his house is 63 feet, 0.2 off of Meadow Lane, where we'll be 68 feet off of Meadow Lane. And his deck and stairway and all of those exciting things are 22.7 feet from the wetland on the one side, 27.6 from the wetlands closest to the bay. And then, of course, he has a swimming pool, which is 56.9 wetlands. So I don't think that in terms of what we're looking to do here, other than, I'm on a corner lot, so I have a little bit more restrictions, but I don't think any of my numbers really are any different than theirs, and they're slightly better than what was originally approved in 2009. Any questions?
Just Lisa, just if I may quickly, could you just confirm that you submitted the affidavits of posting and notice to the?
I did. I was actually right behind John's secretary when she came in.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
On the pyramid law, how many cubic feet is that?
How many cubic feet is it? It is. It's 255 cubic feet on the southwest side, and it is 2,924.1 on that eastern Road D side.
About 600 cubic feet altogether.
So about 3,200 cubic feet total. Correct. And that's
you're going. Okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask that you're going from a 4-bedroom to a 5-bedroom house, correct?
No, actually, I am sticking with the original proposal was going to be a 5-bedroom house. There was a bedroom on the first and the second floor of that L-shaped projection. The new owner is not interested in that. So the first floor, we are creating a study. So there'd be 1 bedroom on the first floor. And then actually on the second floor, this is the master bedroom here. And this is the bathroom. And through the master bathroom, there'll be a closet. And, you know, as we all are living out here and they're working from home, this will be his office. And it's only accessible through the master bedroom. So it will be a 4-bedroom.
But if it's, you have a study with a full bathroom and a closet in it, so that's really a bedroom.
Well, no, it's shared.
Well, not by septic system or parking standards in the village. You get, the health department says that you get a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and 1 bonus room, whether it's a study, a library, you know, whatever you want to call it, you get. And that's actually the study, if you will. They actually currently use this room now as a study. There's not actually a bed in this room now, but they're going to turn that back into a bedroom. So by health department standards, it will be considered a 4-bedroom house instead of a 5-bedroom house. So, and our septic system is actually already in for a 5-bedroom house.
There is a Mr.
Sorry. So you have the parking for 4 bedrooms?
I have parking for 4 bedrooms, correct.
There's a Mr. Edward Mule who'd like to be heard on this application.
Okay.
Mr. Mule, you can unmute yourself and turn on your camera.
Thank you. Hold on. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So, yeah, I'm the neighbor who lives, I guess you might call it catty corner. If there were no Meadow Lane there, the corner of my property would be touching the corner of this property. And frankly, I never got noticed on this on this hearing. I went to the building. I saw the sign up recently, and so I went to the building department today. And it turns out that my guess is the reason I didn't get noticed is because of the way when on the list of people you're supposed to notice, the computer looks like it put too many things on one line. So the package probably got sent into Netherlands someplace. I guess what I would like is to get a package of this and be able to look at it and then come back, because I obviously have some concerns, given the close setback to the street and so forth, and the potential impact it has on my property. So I'd like to have time to look at it and consider it and so forth. And I wanted to just make sure that I wasn't precluded from that, because I didn't know about this until literally yesterday.
They should have that file inside the building office.
Pardon me?
They'll have the file in the building office. You can go in and look at it.
Yeah. And yes, and I looked at it briefly today, but I'd like time to obviously look at it. I'd love it if frankly, if the attorney on this for the people who live at that home could just send me a package that I presume you would have sent me a package had you, or you tried to send me a package, or I don't know if you tried to send me a package with plans and stuff like that.
No, you just received notice of it by mail, and then if you want to review any of it, you have to go to the building department to review it.
Got it. Okay. So
Sir,
if I could have time to do that.
Sir, what is the name that your house is in?
I'm sorry, say it again?
What is the name as the owner of your house?
It's a couple of LLCs.
Is it 1430 Meadow Lane LLC 1 and 2?
Yeah.
At 2 Greenwich Plaza Capital, Greenwich, Greenwich, Connecticut, 060.
Yes.
It went, that's where it went.
And the fact that you're here discussing it. Any failure of the mailing to be received and whatnot is you waive that claim by being here. And as with all the other applications, this is going to be adjourned until the next meeting. You'll have significant time to review anything.
Okay, I guess that's the reason why I didn't get it, ma'am, is that you can see if you have your sheet, it merges my name in the same line as the 1430 Meadow Lane. So when it got to Greenwich Plaza, because my name wasn't on it, they had no idea whose it was. I'm sure. That's my guess, is they had no idea who the building or the postman had no idea who it was.
Thank you. As you are currently appearing,
yep.
There's no notice issue. So
yep.
However it got lost or whatever is really, it's moot at this point.
Okay, great. So I'll have time to do it and come back at the next hearing. You have a whole month.
Yes.
Great.
Mr. Mule, if you want to take down my phone number, you're more than welcome to call me and we can discuss any questions and anything if you'd like.
Sure. What is that, Lisa?
631
yeah.
283
yep.
8228.
Terrific. And my last name is pronounced Mule.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. Okie doke. Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this application?
There's no other public comments.
Anybody on the board want to speak to it, or are we all set? So, same thing with this one, I've done with all the others. We adjourn for all purposes.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3078 EHN8 LLC 109 Hampton Road.
Kevin, if I could just interrupt briefly, I believe that was the last new wetlands matter on the agenda.
So
it's been wonderful.
You don't want to stick around for the rest of the fun?
At the end, huh?
I wish you guys.
Goodbye.
So have a good night, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Good night, Chick.
Yep, see you next time around. Take care.
Okay, back to 109 Hampton Road. We have somebody here for that?
Yes, Mr. Eric Ajmian. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You're on?
Yes, Jimmy. I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. Hi. Thank you for your time. So this is a property that we're renovating at 109 Hampton Road. It's very close to the village center. My client is looking to we're looking to renovate. It's a small house. I mean, the existing size of the house is a little over 1,200 square feet. But it's a historic house, and it's a historic house, and it has very low roofs. The first floor ceiling is 7'4". The original house was built in 1825, and then the owners did additions to it, those guide additions. We are keeping the house as it is, but we're adding a one-story addition to the back of the house. And the reason we're adding a one-story addition to the back of the house, instead of going up, which the client originally thought maybe, is to keep the character of the house from the street. We need two variances here. One being on Elm Street, the existing house is built almost on the property line. There's an old garage which was turned into a studio, which is right on Elm Street. So obviously the setback is 35 feet. We are not building per se, we're not changing that elevation. We're keeping that elevation on Elm Street, which is the side of the house, the side of the old garage. but we're building behind that. So you won't see it from Elm Street per se, although you will, obviously you'll see it at different angles coming down Elm Street. So it won't be encroaching on the property or onto the street or kind of change the effect of the landscape on the street, but we are building new, we are asking to build within the setback, if that's clear.
Yes, please.
Dan, could I ask you to mute yourself? The papers are hitting the speaker pretty hard.
Do we have anything else on this application?
That's the one. The other variance that we're asking for is the fact that this is for the zoning for the historic zone. Our building that we're proposing is going to be 2,162 square feet, and there's a variance that buildings in this zone should only be two-story houses can only have a footprint on the first floor of being 2,000 square feet. So we're asking to go over that by 162 square feet. One of the reasons we are a two-story house, second story of this house is only 575 square feet. We're not extending the second floor, extending the footprint of the second story so that the roof lines are the same from the street, but we are extending in the back. We're keeping the building low, but we are extending in the back, and we're asking to go over that 2,000 square feet, 62 square feet.
Right, I'm sorry, you broke up. How many square feet?
162 square feet.
Do you know what's your GFA calculation for the lot? What's your total square footage that you're allowed on the lot?
I do have that. Hold on here. We do meet, it just came out. We are within allowable for the GFA.
Right, what's the balance of GFA that you still have?
1 second, sir.
I found it here. It's on the
first page.
Survey and site plan. It says gross area allowable, 12% of lot area plus 1,500 is 2,762 square feet. And the proposed would be 2,677 square feet.
You're just breaking up. So David, there's only about 100 square feet left?
Yes.
Okay. So the relief is for exceeding the first floor square footage and also a side yard?
Yes.
But the side yard, you're not moving the house any closer to.
No, we're building behind it, behind the structure.
Behind so you're already closer on the Elm Street side anyway.
Yes. I mean, the entire house was built, within the setbacks of the new setback. So that if this were a new house, it would not be able to be built there, obviously.
Right, but it's right.
Yeah. So we're adding a one-story house. We're adding a one-story addition, basically screened by the existing house,
right.
But it is within the setback.
The addition will be to the north or the east of the existing house?
East. No, sorry. The addition is to the north.
North.
Yes.
The addition is, I'm having difficulty understanding that you won't be able to see it either from Hampton Road or from Elm Street, is what you're saying?
I mean, there would be an angle that you would see it when you're coming from the north of Elm Street down to Hampton Road. You actually won't see it because of screening, because of there's actually shrubs and stuff now that you wouldn't see it. So you wouldn't see it. Hampton Road, we don't have a problem, but you wouldn't see it so much except for from an angle looking through the backyard.
If you're looking through the backyard towards Hampton Road, is that what you're saying?
No, if you were on Hampton Road, you would only see the very end of that, the very back. You would see the very back of it at an angle. Mm-hmm. If you were looking straight on at the middle of the house, you would, from Hampton Road or from Elm Street, you would not see the addition. Like from the middle of the house straight into it, you would not see it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if your car was driving down these roads, there are angles that you could see it. Mm-hmm. You are unlikely to see it with the shrubs and the landscaping that is there now and what's planned to be there. Future stuff.
But all of this is preferable to putting a second floor on the way I'm seeing it.
This was the idea to keep the existing house and the historic structure of the house, is not to put a second. I mean, the client originally thought they wanted a second floor, but when we went through everything, we decided, and even a small second floor completely changed the feel of the house. As I said, these side additions are very low, and even the house is low.
From an engineering standpoint, could the first floor handle a second floor? Would be strong enough to handle it?
I don't think it would, but we're not adding a second floor.
No, I know. That's why I asked the question.
One of the reasons that the house even pushes back as far as it does is that we push the house about 3 feet back so as not to disrupt the foundation of the existing house. The existing house has been done in piecemeal, so I'm nervous about the structure of the house by doing any construction or raising the house, because we considered ceilings higher.
I believe it was owned by a family by the name of Smith.
Yes.
And when is your, have you been in front of the Architectural Review Board yet, or when is that scheduled?
The 27th, Monday.
Okay.
It's coming Monday.
Yes.
Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard of this application? Anybody from the board?
Anyone from the public? No one's raising their hand.
David, you're all set? Okay.
I'm all set.
Do the same with Patricia. We're done with all the others. I move we adjourn for all purposes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
$3079 Felix and Elizabeth Roatan Trust, 365 and 385 Main. This one's a little unusual.
All right, Linda Riley is in.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Hear you.
We can hear you. We can't see
me.
Your camera is off.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. These are two lots. They've traditionally been two lots. They're 85,000 square feet each, adjacent. One on the corner of Gin Lane and South Main, and the other one just to the north of it on South Main. The lots are the result of a subdivision that was approved by the planning board back in 1956. So the lots or the subdivision goes back a long time. In 1967, it was upzoned to R120, which made them non-conforming, but at that point, they already were two established lots. Mr. Rohatyn, who is deceased now, acquired the corner lot first, the one at 385 South Main Street. He acquired that lot at a time in 1978 when it already had a dwelling on it. And the dwelling, I think, is in pretty much the same configuration as it is now, according to aerial photos. There wasn't a lot on this in the files in the building department. I spent quite a bit of time in the building department with Chris Talbot trying to put together exactly what got built when. And a lot of those files were missing. But it does have, the corner lot does have a house on it as far back as I could go in the aerials. Certainly Mr. Rohatyn lived in there in 1978 and he didn't build it. There was a later permit for an addition, but unfortunately we couldn't find any CO for the house, but it's been continuously lived in since 1978 at least, probably sooner. Then at some point he deeded, not at some point, in 1985, he deeded the corner lot where he lived to his wife, Elizabeth, who is also deceased at this point in time. Much later, not until 1990, did they acquire the lot that is adjacent to them on just to the south, which is at 365 South Main Street. And so up until 1990, at all times, from the time of the subdivision up until 1990, these were two separate, distinct lots. When Elizabeth acquired the lot in 1990, it was more than a lot, actually. It had a CO for all the structures that are on the property, including the swimming pool and accessory structures, garage, the house. In 2009, they hired a New York City estate planning firm to do some estate planning for them. And at that time, then the attorneys in the city, for estate planning purposes only, really, put both lots in the same name in a trust. The trust, they were conveyed as two lots. The deeds were recorded against both lots, and ever since then there have been two tax bills and separate taxes paid. And the Rohatyns, as far as we understand from their city attorneys and from theirs, who still comes to the property, probably absolutely never knew that these had we merged for zoning purposes under the code. I just want to point out that they really truly do function as two separate lots. There are two separate houses in long-standing locations that are approached by two completely separate driveways. One driveway to 365 is all the way to the north end of that property, and all the way down by the corner of Gin Lane is the driveway for the other property. They have separate driveways, separate entrances, and they're completely separate houses. There are two minor accessory structures that straddle the line. One is a little man-made water feature that, with a patio around it that was plopped down between the two lots. And the other one is a shed that was plopped down between the two lots. Certainly, they understand that those minor structures are going to have to be removed, and would remove them as a condition of this approval. If you seek to approval, if you go ahead and approve it. I also want to point out that there is an argument here that they're not actually merged. I know that the village has traditionally viewed it that way and interpreted it that way. But I did submit some cases and some case law that suggests that where properties have been taxed separately and have been separately improved before the time they became non-conforming, and driveways, etc., are completely separate, and neither lot enhances the utility of the other, that they can be deemed single and separate lots, notwithstanding the fact that they're in the same ownership. But notwithstanding those arguments, I also think it qualifies under the zoning code for a variance on a number of points. First of all, there is absolutely no undesirable change that's going to be produced to the character of the neighborhood. In fact, no change at all is proposed to either one of the dwellings. It's no secret that the properties are up for sale. They've been up for sale for a long time, and there's nothing planned at this point in time except those things that you may want to condition the approval on, such as removing the water feature in the middle. So what we're doing here is maintaining status quo. We have a code provision that disallows having two family houses on, and if you consider this or deem it as one lot simply because of a mistake, frankly, that New York City lawyers made in estate planning, you're going to end up with two houses on one lot, which is a completely non-conforming use under the Southampton Village Code. So I think there's something to be said for basically eliminating that kind of nonconformity, which was never intended and isn't permitted.
So you've got lots that were purchased at different times.
At different times.
Two houses.
Two houses. Yes.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the last statement, Kevin?
Yeah, he's got two houses purchased at different times, two houses and two tax bills. Each house, each one is getting a separate tax bill. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
I see no problem with it.
Well, I mean, the problem, Kevin, is that they merged by law. Is the way I'm seeing it. You have 3 acre zoning, and each of these lots is only 2 acres. We have a total of 4 acres where you need 6.
But we have the power to separate them.
Yes,
we always been treated as separate houses.
Well, I mean, also the planning board has the power to grant a subdivision, and I'm looking more at that possibility. I mean, to say that they've had common ownership since 2009, and are picking up now the fact that they merged because the upzoning was 19 76? When was the upzoning?
Well, the upzoning was in 76, but they didn't own either one of these properties. Both properties existed and were approved by a planning board before that time.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's been 12 years that they've had these properties in common ownership, and it's 3 acre zoning, and between both lots, you only have 4 acres. So you're actually asking for a variance on both lots for this upzoning that happened in 1976.
Well, the alternative is you have 2 one-family houses, functioning on one lot, and that's not permitted under the code either.
No, I think whoever develops these properties is going to take care of that anyway. And one of the lots is a corner lot, at the corner of Gin and South Main.
Right, but it's
maybe the village doesn't want that, having a 2 acre lot on the corner there. Maybe the village upzoned this area because they really want 3 acre zoning, not 2 2-acre lots.
But that's
not really my point. My point is, I think they did merge.
Well, I disagree with that, and I can submit a fuller legal memo on that.
Unfortunately, you're frozen.
I can try to pull her out as a panelist to bring her back.
You could argue that they actually haven't legally merged.
No, I know that argument can be made, and I read the case that you submitted, but, one of the things that the case, talks about is, that those properties were actually not being held in common ownership. This, you're saying, is frankly being held in common ownership.
No, they were.
We're losing you, Linda. You're freezing up.
And then there was no deliberate. I'm sorry. I don't know how to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I would also urge you to consider. I would also urge you to consider your own precedent here. There was actually not as clear of a situation on the Coles application where there was. Am I freezing up again? You seem to be.
You're okay right now.
Okay. On the Coles application, you had one lot with a total area that was similar to this one, and it was clearly one lot with a swimming pool right in the middle. And although it had been 2 lots on the tax map, it had always been treated and used by the property owner on the side as the property owner who had the house on one side as one lot. It had always been integrated with gardens and a pool, everything, and that the board granted. Pardon me?
It's the property on the corner of Gin Lane and Little Plains.
Yes, correct. And this board granted it.
To be split.
Right.
It's very similar to this one.
They granted lot area variances for a subdivision to allow the planning board to approve a subdivision.
Well, there hadn't been an approved subdivision on that lot. It was just 2 lots on a tax map. It had never been approved by any board in the village on Coles. Here you've got something that was an approved subdivision map.
Yes, but after the subdivision, they upzoned the area. After the subdivision.
Right.
And you put it's hard to say why the New York City estate planners put it in common ownership, but they did it for their reason. But it was put in common ownership.
It was for estate planning purposes.
I have a question on that. You say that both. It looks like in 1990 they were both owned by Elizabeth, correct? So they were both in the same name in 1990.
They were she acquired, the second lot was acquired in 1990. And when she acquired the second of the two lots that they owned, the first lot was already in her name. So in 1990,
why didn't they merge then?
Well, I mean, you could. That's when they became not in single and separate ownership. I mean,
Right.
I'm conceding that in 1990 they were not in single and separate ownership because Elizabeth acquired one lot, already owning the other one, but both were already improved with completely separate and independent houses that were independent families and had been independently owned for all time up till then.
The main point with me is that they were purchased at different times. They weren't purchased as one unit, they were purchased as two units.
Yes, but that doesn't prevent them from merging, Kevin.
The Coles application only had one house on it.
Yeah.
I don't have that application as part of the file. Did I miss it?
Well,
Yes, it's the last exhibit, I believe, it's Exhibit H, I believe, to the submission.
Okay.
Correct.
But that application did get, part of that condition was those were lot area variances so that the planning board could approve a subdivision if they so felt.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
And to allow the construction of another house. We're not asking for the construction of another house. We're not asking for a new buildable lot. What's there is there.
Yeah, but somebody's going to redevelop these lots. They're not going to.
They're not selling. They're not selling. They've been on the market.
They're very saleable lots.
Well, they've been on the market for over a year now, or almost 2 years.
Price, Linda. It's just price. They're very. Nobody's going to tell me that 4 acres at the corner of South Main and Gin Lane are not saleable.
Well,
two 2-acre lots are also quite saleable. Maybe
yes, at the right price.
More than one 4-acre lot.
Yes, exactly.
And even if they tear the houses down, there's going to be new houses on 2 separate lots.
And you're going to have more.
Do you want to be the person who says that you can have 2 separate new houses on 2 separate lots, or one house on a 4-acre lot because it's zoned R120? And I'm just saying I don't necessarily want to be the board who says that, but if the planning board wants to approve a subdivision, and this is a question of an area variance, that's a different story. But for us to say, yes, we're granting a subdivision of these 2 lots after they were merged, I think that's a little more, it's a little too much to ask.
We don't have to grant the subdivision, we can just do the lot variance.
That's a subdivision because they're merged.
We've done it before. I think we have to be consistent.
Yes, if I could see a case where we've done it before.
Coles as one.
But David's pointing out that no, that was before the planning board. I'll take the time to read it, but what David is saying, that was before the planning board, and it was an area variance. So if it goes before the planning board and they want to grant a subdivision subject to an area variance, that's a different question.
It also came before us to get the area variance.
That's right.
Yeah, it actually came first to the ZBA. Yeah, it actually went first to the zoning board.
The ZBA first, yeah.
Yeah.
Then it went to the planning board. We could do.
Is that how we want to do it? Is that how you would?
Well, this is the way the building inspector saw it. When I spent some time with Chris Talbot going over this situation, and the building inspector thought that given the fact that it had been approved for a subdivision and it already had 2 houses on it, that
happened before the upzoning.
What happened before the upzoning?
The subdivision.
The subdivision did, but the houses didn't. And the the village has granted COs for these houses long after the upzoning.
Prior to the common ownership.
Well, okay, except they did grant one in 1990 to Elizabeth Rowaton. When she acquired the second lot, she got an updated CO in her name, and nobody said boo about the lots being merged now.
I'm not sure they need to say, that the lots are merged. I don't know that that's how it works. But I hear what you're saying. I'm glad to talk, at the next work session about it. That was my initial, reaction to this. If you want to go to this planning board, that's fine. But for us to divide lots that have been merged seems too much to ask.
Well, I'm not asking you to do anything except recognize the status quo. I mean, it is two lots. It functions as two lots in every which way. Two tax maps, two tax bills. In fact, 4 tax bills, because they each get a village bill and they each get a town bill.
But that's not. Lots can get 2 tax bills and still be merged.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to submit more to back up sort of what I'm saying. I'll submit a legal memo to you, as well as I believe there is more precedent for this in the village, and I'll see what I can bring to your attention before the next meeting.
Anybody else from the public who'd like to be heard? Is there anyone else on the board who'd like to be heard? David, anything?
No, I'm good.
So we'll do the same thing as this one. I move we adjourn it for all purposes.
Okay.
So, Linda?
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Linda, did you submit affidavits of notice and posting?
I did. I'm sorry. I should have said that up front. I submitted them to Diane early this morning, and she said they were fine. Would you like me to show them to you?
No, that's okay. I'm sure we'll get them. I just wanted confirmed on the record that they've been.
Yes.
A motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Last case. 3080 412 First Neck Lane LLC. 412 First Neck Lane. Hallelujah. Who's appearing for this one?
It's Mr. Gilbert Flanagan.
We made you stick around all night, huh, Gil?
It won't be the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Okay, for the applicant, Gilbert G. Flanagan, 21 South Main Street, Southampton. We did submit an affidavit of posting and an affidavit of mailing earlier today, both by email and also in person, so you should have them in the file.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
I'd like at this point also to ask if we could have Kirk Lehman, the architect, tapped in so that he can do a screen share, if that's possible.
He is in.
Great. If I could share my screen, I could just put up one image for Gil.
We have an issue with your sound.
Yeah, your
sound
is a little hot.
Sorry.
I like the fans going.
Okay, you're all set.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, but we're not saying the material you want. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there it is. Okay, there it is. Yeah, that'll be important as we go through the discussion, and I'll try to make it as brief as I can. I think it's important to look at this because one of the things that it shows, as you can see, is an overall aerial view of the subject neighborhood. And I might point out the fact that when I took a look at various sections of the tax map on both sides of Agawam Lake, I think this is the only property that has all of these characteristics. In fact, I'll submit before the next meeting those sections of the tax map. But this is one of the oldest remaining old estate areas that has a large lot that runs all the way from First Neck Lane to the lake itself, and that's the property immediate to the south. And the relevance of that is that particular lot and the subject lot, plus the lot to the west of it, share a common driveway, which has historically been developed with an alley of trees on both sides of it and vast expanses of lawn on either side of it to create a unique neighborhood look that really doesn't exist anywhere else as far as I can see in the village. So one of the things that we looked at is where the best location for this garage structure would be, given the character of the development and history of the area. The only variance we are seeking, obviously, is one from the west property line. And I'll state at the outset that the people who own the property to the west have no objection to the application because we've agreed to plant additional screening between the two lots, and they're happy with that. And furthermore, the property owner to the south, who's the one that goes all the way from First Neck Lane to the lake itself, also has no problem with the application, recognizing that if we were to put it in a conforming location, it would destroy or at least severely impact the historical character of this particular location. And in fact, furthermore, I should point out, and you'll see that I submitted a short while ago, a few days ago, a copy of the subdivision map when 412 First Neck Lane was subdivided from 408 First Neck Lane. There was a garage/apartment just a little bit to the north of where we're proposing to construct the structure we're looking at this evening. In fact, that particular building was a long pre-existing building. It was much closer to what is now the west line and much closer to the north line. And part of the idea when we developed this plan is to put the new structure in the same general area as the old garage apartment was, to be consistent with the character of the area, and also to utilize the existing service drive, which shows on the map, so as to avoid changing accesses and so forth. So our feeling was that this would probably, in fact, would be the best possible location for this structure. Now, one could say, well, you can put it in a conforming location, but I would submit to you that that's not the end of the inquiry, because again, I go back to what I said at the beginning of the night, in that this is a balancing test. You really have to consider the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the neighborhood. And I would submit in this particular case, putting the building in a conforming location would actually create a significant detriment, and I suspect you would hear loud noises from the property owner to the south to that effect. So I think it's important to consider that when you're viewing this application. You should also note, and Mr. Lehman submitted a few days ago a slightly amended design for the garage and shed structure. The footprint as shown on the site plan, which I believe you have, which is S1, which you can look at separately. It's a large sheet. That has not changed at all. What has changed is the connection between the central garage structure and the two sheds, one shed on either side of it. The building department felt that the initial design looked too much like one building, and therefore might have an issue with the gross square footage allowable for an accessory structure, even though that design contained two breezeway type connections. The new plan, which Kirk has shown you, shows the central garage with the two sheds lower and connected on each side with an open breezeway with a lattice type roof. The building department has advised us that that is conforming with the code definition, which says that these buildings are separate buildings. So as a result, none of them exceeds 800 square feet. And it also, as you can see from looking at the drawing, lowers the impact of the two sheds by lowering them considerably from the main roof line of the garage structure. This again is a situation with a flagpole lot. Again, we're requesting a front yard setback, but the setback of this building from First Neck Lane is about 499 square feet. So you get the concept that the distance from street, which is what the code talks about, which really relates to what people see when they drive by on the street, really doesn't apply here, because the only people who could conceivably see this structure would be the people to the west and the people to the south. And then, as I've indicated, both of those neighbors are comfortable with this, and I suspect if we did something different, locating the garage either to the south of the tennis court or to the east of it would create some significant concern with the property owner to the south, as well as the subject property. Again, part of the historical value of this whole area has been the open expanses of lawn and the alley of trees which runs along the driveway. So I think if you take that into consideration, and the fact that the relief is really not that significant, I think from a neighborhood standpoint and from a balancing standpoint, it kind of makes sense. And I would hope that you would view it in that fashion. Well, just before we leave that subject, I want to point out that if we were to build the structure on the east side of the tennis court, you can see this trapezoidal shape that Kirk has shown on the drawing, that there's a substantial cluster of mature trees there which would have to be removed, which again is part of the historical character of this area. Of course, as you know, this area is within the historic district, so all the more reason why we're trying to preserve the overall look of this property and the surrounding properties.
And the driveway to it also.
Wait.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I say if you put it on the other side, you have to add a driveway to it.
Precisely. It's exactly right. Another driveway cut, which would, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of the neighbors, seriously devalue the view and the site which presently exists. One of the nice things about this is we can keep the existing access driveway that went to the former garage, which was in this same general location, although more non-conforming.
Mm-hmm.
So unless Kirk has anything to add, I think that pretty well sums it up. By the way, the structure and design of the building, as you may note in looking at it, is designed to complement the existing house. It has a brick facade and a wood shingle roof. So it's traditional. It's totally in keeping with the architectural and historical design of this development. Oh, another thing I'll mention is that if we would put the garage to the south or to the east of the tennis court, the likelihood is that it would be oriented in an east-west direction, which would have the garage doors facing the driveway, and there would be much more of a visual impact from the driveway as you drove down it, as opposed to this way. It's screened with additional planting, and you're seeing only the end of it. There will be additional plantings done to the south of it, and also to the east of where the driveway comes in, further to screen it. I was surprised when I looked at the tax map on both sides of the lake. This, I think, is the only piece of property that is like this. So it's not as if there's a huge precedent that we're looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
This is that the property to the south, I think, is the only lot left on either side of Agawam Lake that could conceivably possibly be divided. But I know that owner, whom I happen to know, has no present intention of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep my mouth shut unless you have any questions.
Yeah, Gil, could you just speak for a moment about the number of accessory structures on the property and how that conforms?
Yeah, the tennis court originally was built with a variance, which I gave the board a copy of with the submission. There is a swimming pool on Agawam Lake. Again, a garage is one of the things typically considered kind of important and necessary. And so there aren't that many, for the size of this property, which is huge, there really aren't that many accessory structures on it. Witness the amount of open space that's on it.
But they have another garage?
I believe they do. Kirk, correct me if I'm wrong. I think at the house they do. I don't know if Kirk is still here.
Still here, yeah.
Kirk, can you hear me?
Afraid to turn on my microphone. This garage has been demolished. There is no other garage.
Okay.
There's no garage at the main house?
There's no.
No, apparently there isn't. In fact, let me look at the site plan.
I should look at this.
No, apparently there isn't, but But in any event, it bears repeating that historically there was a garage, actually a garage apartment in this general area. So we're not introducing something that wasn't there before. That's really important. In fact, that garage was almost up against the north property line.
Yeah. Anybody from the public wish to speak?
There's no one else in the attendees box.
Anybody else on the board wish to speak? David, do you have anything? No. So we'll just continue with what we've been doing, and I move with adjourn for all purposes.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good
Thank you, everybody.
I also move that this meeting of the July 2002 of the zoning board of the village of Southampton is now concluded.